Welcome to Tabletalk Friday, your weekly dose of D&D banter between three men in a bedroom. If you like their style, come back every Friday for another upload. Now, back to the boys.
Based on the history of fighting games and Smash so far, the thing about Ultimate is they included every single character and map from the last games. So all of them. I mean, I'm talking every single character. There's a little over 80, I think, in the game, which is a lot because these are all fully fleshed, unique characters. So unless they continue porting this game, they are not going to be able to retrieve the licenses for every single one of these characters to release another version better than Smash Ultimate.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing they've been doing since Brawl. They've said, well, yeah, we don't technically own this character, but let's get the licenses for Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's get the license for Mega Man. So now in Smash Ultimate, they've got so many different characters from so many different licenses. They had to pull off some wizardry for some of this shit.
Sora from Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah,
they had to have Disney say you can use that character because Sora is technically a Disney character, right?
Well, Sora himself is owned by Square Enix, but they can't do anything with Kingdom Hearts without Disney's approval. So
exactly.
They had to pull some wizardry to pull that off. And they've got friggin' Steve from Minecraft in Smash Ultimate,
Microsoft is down. Cool. Microsoft is down to clown. So Microsoft is always gonna work with you on that kind of stuff. They'll kind of let you, if you've got a cool thing you're doing, they'll let you do it.
But Solid Snake. Fucking Metal Gear Solid.
Oh yeah, you can't get the rights to that anymore. Konami's gonna be like, no, we're good. We got pachinko machines.
Yeah, exactly.
So is that one of the main reasons that they're not proceeding with that anymore? It's just because it's so hard to keep up with the franchise?
No. It's not time for them to release a new Smash game. Smash is a once per console thing. We've got ours on Switch.
So we anticipate a new one, just not yet.
Here's what I anticipate: Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Deluxe on the next console.
Probably, and so here's the reason why. The creator for all of these games, it's been the same guy creating or heading
Masahiro Sakurai.
Yeah, of course. He's headed the project for each of them, but he's getting pretty old, and he's almost exclusively just been working on Super Smash Bros.
And
games.
Kirby.
Yeah, and Kirby, and that one Kid Icarus game. But other than that, he's been occupied with this one thing for so long, and. Before Ultimate even came out, he said, yeah, I think I want to retire from this whole thing. And then Nintendo gave him a bunch of money, and then he did Ultimate. But he if you listen to or, read interviews with him, he just sounds so ready to be done.
Oh.
But the thing is, you hear him, and he loves the game so much that he doesn't want someone else to, direct it. He loves working on the game so much that he's like, no, this is my life. Sakurai is probably my favorite developer. That because of the way he works on the game, he's like, I haven't taken a vacation in this many years. I've been working night and day, 60, 70 hours a week for this many years on this game. I'm so glad we're showing it to you. Also, he can play the game one controller in each hand. So because he does does his own demos whenever he shows off a new character. Which isn't going to happen anymore, sadly. But whenever he would show off the characters, he would fight himself. He would play one controller in each hand, and it looked like two characters were fighting each other. Now, he's not playing pro level, but he is having the character and showing off every move with each character. This is how much this man has developed and played this game. It is his game.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, the dexterity that he has is pretty good.
So why not just keep... I have talked to so many people throughout college that absolutely love this game. I've heard nothing but great things about it, except for myself. I'm pretty trash at it. But everyone else loves it so much. It's just this great arcade game. It's a great party game. Why not just keep releasing the DLC if they'll never get back to this point again?
Well, I assume at some point the licenses expire.
How long do licenses go for?
I'm not a licensed guy.
I mean,
I've got a driver's license.
Depends on the deal, right? And even some of the their own things are tough to bring back. Do you really think we're gonna get Young Link again in the next one? Probably not.
Probably not.
He was a pull from Super Smash Bros. Melee, way back when, but they replaced him. But they brought him back for Ultimate because everyone had to be back.
Yeah, you've got 3 different Links in the one game. You've got Toon Link, Young Link, and Link.
Oh, yeah, that's weird. But even so, with so many new things or people coming out, wouldn't you rather keep the same base game that everyone loves and just pull and put in franchises as it goes, just to keep it going?
The problem is, I would say that each game has been drastically different mechanics-wise, except for, I would say, 3DS and Wii U to Smash Ultimate. So Smash 4 to Smash Ultimate, not too different. They are different, but not too different. But you go from like Smash 64 to Melee, drastic difference. From Melee to Brawl, drastic gameplay difference. And then Brawl back to Smash 4, again, drastic difference. I think they've done the best they can with making the game as welcoming as possible. It might not be the most competitive or the best for competitive play, like I would say Melee still is, but sort of like Dungeons and Dragons 5e, you know, I would say like with 5e at this point, I feel like Smash Ultimate is the most welcoming for anybody to come in and just play.
Okay, so it's accessible to everybody.
Yeah, it's accessible to everybody. So theoretically, with the formula that they have now, they could do what you're saying. We just don't know if they will.
Okay, I'm just worried that they're gonna lose their mojo going on. You know, like I'd hate to see the best version of what's come out go down without any sort of continuation.
Well, and that's my fear, honestly. Like, if they could re-release Ultimate on every console, you know, going forward, please do. But it's my fear that we're probably going to get, you know, the new Super Smash Brothers, and there's going to be new characters, and it's going to be a valid game in its own way. But I'm not going to be able to play Roy from Fire Emblem 6 again. I'm not going to be able to play, you know, Young Link, Pichu, and Mewtwo all in the same game. I'm not going to be able to play Solid Snake versus Bayonetta again, probably, or Cloud from Final Fantasy, or Sephiroth from Final Fantasy. That's ridiculous that he's in that game.
Exactly. I mean, we don't know if we're going to get all of the same characters. Who knows? In the future, will another Super Smash Brothers game come out that is different from Ultimate? Absolutely. 100% it will. There's no doubt in my mind that it will. Will it flop? I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Or will it be better than Ultimate? Will it somehow include all of the 80-something characters we have? Maybe. Maybe every company will merge into one, and then we'll have the game. You know, it will just Monopoly City. You know.
Nintendo has bought all other game developers because I'm sure they have that money, right?
Yeah. No, I think only Microsoft could do that. At this moment in time.
Which, you know, maybe if that happens, then we'll get the Smash game of our dreams with Doom Guy and fucking Master Chief in it.
You know, and it's really tough explaining Smash to a person who hasn't played it before, which kind of leads me into this episode's topic, explaining Dungeons and Dragons to someone who's not a nerd D&D player or something like that. Welcome to this episode of TableTalk Friday, where I, Seth Pittman, am joined by my two lovely friends, Andrew Romano and Zachary Carvon. How are you boys doing today?
I'm feeling great, highly educated on the Smash Bros.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I think I could go on about Smash Brothers for the rest of this episode.
Honestly, I probably could too. Maybe that's grounds for another podcast. Explaining things that we like that are in nerd culture to Drew.
I'm into that.
Hey, Drew, have you heard about Smash Bros?
I would like to, after this, pitch my podcast idea to you boys that I came up with yesterday. Anyways, I think it's going to be great. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about explaining Dungeons and Dragons to people who aren't into Dungeons and Dragons, which is a topic that excites me because of how many times I have tried to do this. It's hard, man.
So I think just from the outset, we need to let the people know
we don't know how to do this.
Yeah, we're actually quite bad at this.
It's hard. It's very hard.
They need a handbook to explain this before you get to the game. This is the pre-game right here. The D&D pre-game.
Because once you've sat in on a session and been exposed to D&D, I feel like it's very self-explanatory. But the second that someone looks at you and you walk into Starbucks, right? You are wearing a shirt with a graphic D20 on it. You walk in and the girl across the counter from you after taking your order goes, "My brother plays that game." What is that? And you look back at the girl and you're like, "Well, you see, well, it's kind of like you're, I don't know."
Well, you remember being a kid? This is sometimes how I'll, if I'm comfortable with the person. You remember being a kid and playing pretend? It's kind of like that with rules.
So it's a board game.
Yeah, well, kind of, but not necessarily. So it's sort of like a storytelling game and you play it with dice, and you can have game pieces, but you don't need to. And you all sit around at a table with each other, and you all play different characters in the story, and yeah.
And how do you win?
Well,
These are questions I have been asked.
no, all the time.
Like my grandparents once, I'm hanging out with them and I'm like, yeah, I got D&D tonight, so I'm gonna have to head out like here soon. And they're like, oh, like on The Big Bang Theory? And I'm like,
Just
yes,
like that.
just like they said, like, and I was like, yeah, I'm the DM. You know, I tell the story. I stand at the front of the table. And sometimes I sit, sometimes I stand. I tell a story, I write it, blah, blah, blah. And they're like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. And I'm like, yes, please compare me, your grandson with a six-pack, to Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. I would love that.
You don't know. Sheldon could have a six-pack.
He could. He very well could. You know, I'll have to look up the actor later.
Sheldon naughty photos.
Oh no.
Just store that in my Google
Sheldon
for later.
six-pack, it's him holding just a case of beer.
Perfect.
Maybe it's easier to explain D&D as what it's not if you take that kind of angle. Like, I think it's very important from the get-go, and I've said this multiple times probably in this podcast, you need to make sure people understand this is not a video game. There's no screens unless you want there to be a screen. Then there's screens.
And you don't have to use any, like, software. Well, unless you want to use Roll20.
It really is just its own category.
Really, yeah, and unless you know what a tabletop, like, role-playing game is, you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. It's like, I can explain that to them. It's be like, well, it's like an RPG. Do you know what Skyrim is? And it's like, oh yeah, I've heard of Skyrim. You know, lots of people have heard of Skyrim. Yeah, I've heard of Skyrim. Yeah, you know how you like make a character and play that character in Skyrim, and it like gives you a bunch of choices and stuff. And they're like, oh, so it's like a video game. And I'm like, no, it's like playing Skyrim, but you actually are the character, and you have to act and breathe and act like the character. And the way that like hitting things and fighting them works is with dice. You know, that's kind of as close as I've personally gotten, where I'm like, yeah, think Skyrim, except you are pretending to be that character, and, you know, you can do funny voices, you don't have to, you know, but you're pretending to be another person. Like improv class, or like a play.
Maybe Skyrim is a tool that you need to use to explain D&D, because I agree.
That's how I explain other games, too.
Well, it works.
You know, Skyrim? All right, well, this game is nothing like that, but you also hold a controller. So anyway, there's these
like
blocks
Skyrim
coming from the top
like
of the
Skyrim
screen.
with guns.
Yeah. It's like Skyrim with guns. Tetris is like Skyrim with blocks.
This is stressful. I didn't think this episode would be this stressful.
I feel like this is a very informal comedy episode, because honestly, it's tough to have that conversation. Like, what are some key traits of D&D that you can tell someone are involved in the game? You know, let's break this down. Let's break down key traits of the game, and then figure out how we would explain this to someone, so that way next time I have this conversation, I know exactly what to say.
All right. So I've tried to have this conversation a few times with my parents, and every time I think I get a little bit closer to them understanding what the game is.
Okay.
So, I mean, you go in wide. You say, okay, it's like Skyrim. You know Skyrim? No. All right.
I just saw the panic in your eyes.
I mean, that's how it goes. My parents don't know what Skyrim is, so... so it's like a video game, right? You've played Zelda. You know what Zelda is. Mark Carvon, you know what Zelda is.
That's the guy with the green suit.
Yeah. So anyway,
I hate that so much.
Yeah. So he, it's like Zelda, where it's a fantasy setting. It doesn't have to be, but usually you play in a fantasy setting, and you're sitting around a table with your friends. You're talking about a game, and when things happen in the game, you have to roll dice to decide them. You know. So anyway, we get past that. The elements of the game that are important here, when you create your character, you've got a class that you choose. You get to choose some sort of fantasy race that you play, and I mean those are the two main things. And then from there, you build up your character story. Oh, I'm a paladin from Faerun, and I do such and such things. I think that's helpful if you're trying to talk to someone who's actually like sort of interested in the game. I don't know though. Like it's still it's still very difficult for me.
So, I'm a single man and I have been on many a date, and one of the things that's on all of my dating profiles is that I play D&D. This is very prevalent on my profiles. I've had girls ask me the question before, like, I've heard of D&D, I've wanted to play D&D, but I don't really know where to start. I don't even really know what it is or how to play. And me being, a DM for many years now, I've tried my best to explain, but a lot of times I just say, you're just going to have to come to a session. Like, I cannot explain it to you unless you sit down and watch it. And if, say, I'm just texting the girl and she says this to me, I will pull up one of the episodes of Critical Role, like usually like the first episode of season 2 or 3, and say, if you're actually interested, watch like an hour of this and you'll know what it is. Like you'll catch on pretty quick. Here's a link to Critical Role and what they do. It's kind of like that, or like another video of some sort. And I usually refer back to Critical Role because that is one of the first things that I saw in the zeitgeist. But at the same time, I wouldn't even recommend Critical Role to be the one you watch because no game is like Critical Role. But that is how I started. So when I first got to know what D&D was, I watched a session with Lanky Eric and the boys. And Lanky Eric told me all about Critical Role, and I was like, that sounds badass. I want to watch it. So then I did. I watched it, and it was great. So I'd say that's a good tool, is to send them to something, or even what about one of the YouTubers, the many YouTubers who make the animated D&D things, like Dingo Doodles or someone like that. Like, send them to their channel. Like, here's a 6-minute clip of a girl telling a story about her D&D game. This is kind of how it works.
Well, yeah, and so I'll say, I mean, that's how I got into D&D was YouTube, story time videos about what happened in my D&D campaign. Now, like, for an outsider, you don't really understand like all the things that went into that, right? I mean, there might be allusions to, okay, well, we rolled to see what would happen, and they got a nat 20, and all of a sudden, I remember one video where it was like one of the players said, there's a ballista firing at us. I want to catch the bolt out of midair.
Oh my god!
And the DM let him do it, but he'd have to roll a nat 20 to do that, obviously, and he did. And so the rest of
that's so cool.
The party went wild, and so that's sort of what I thought D&D was. Well, it's like Skyrim, but you can do anything. You can do anything you want, and so that's sort of like my elevator pitch. If I'm trying to get someone into D&D, it's like any video game you've ever played, except the only limits are your creativity and what everyone else at the table is okay with, obviously. But you can do anything.
But you have to shut that down really quick too. You can't do just anything,
right?
But I really like the idea, 'cause what you were saying before, Seth, was that the best way to do it is to jump in, which I agree with wholeheartedly. The problem is getting some random person who's doesn't even know what it is to just jump into this 4-hour thing with a bunch of strangers is not something plausible for everybody. So I agree, you need to show them.
Or just match with them on Tinder and ask them to come hang out with you and your friends while you play D&D for 4 hours.
Yeah,
great idea.
Yeah. So I think showing people a video of some kind is probably the most optimal way, just because when I think back to when you guys were telling me those stories about D&D, I just could not grasp what was happening. It's like, why are people flipping around? Where are these dice coming in? I'm not... How are people in danger right now? What is happening in this room that you guys are doing all this crazy shit?
Yeah. And what Drew's referring to is when I would go to him and tell him stories about the campaign we're running in, where he would be like... He was only seeing a screen and these things happening in his head, while I would be like, yeah, so I have my character do a flip like this, and like his staff goes through the wraith and blah blah, and I would like be very excited telling the story, and Drew literally tells me, I think I need to see you play this because all I can envision is a video game in my head right now. And I'm like, okay. I was like, okay, well we'll get you in on this.
But that's where it gets interesting, right? It's because the stories what actually draw you into the game, make it sound interesting. But until you see it, you don't know. To your point, you want to watch Critical Role, which is so drastically different than what these people are going to actually be doing. So what I propose is every single DM, right? You have a portfolio of cool moments that you've run in your games. Short clips, little TikTok
reel.
clips. Yes, a reel. And you show people that you want to play with these reel of cool moments of things happening. People rolling d20s and flipping crap. And actual combat where you're fighting at a table but not actually punching each other. So people can understand what's really happening,
I think you've got the right idea. Now, here's what I propose. I propose that any person looking to play D&D watches the very comedic Moist Critical video where 5 Charlies are playing D&D together. Because, you know what? It breaks it down pretty well. You've got the one guy at the front of the table telling the story. It's a short video. I think it's like 2 or 3 minutes long. You've got the other guys around the table playing the different classes. It's very funny, very memorable, and it gets the idea of D&D across. So you say, I'll send you a video, and you just send them that.
Seth, I feel like if you did that, I'd have many more questions rather than what was the game they were playing. I mean, I'm thinking if I'm someone who doesn't know what D&D is, like, my chances of knowing exactly who Moist Critical is aren't that high either.
No, that's okay. It's just some weird guy. Anyway,
but that's why you have a pre-video video. So you watch the video to understand D&D, but you have to watch, like the intro of Moist Critical to understand who he is in the first place.
Before I started talking, it was a great idea.
So maybe the solution is, not Critical Role, like the top of the top, these voice actors, right? Not Moist Critical, because it's too silly and you're going to be confused on who this guy is or why he's there 4 times in 4 different bodies. But maybe we need to find just the most perfectly average D&D game, period.
Well, I think just say, hey, have you watched Stranger Things? Yeah, watch that first episode again. It's sort of like that.
But they only do that for like 30 seconds. No one knows what D&D is after that one episode of Stranger Things.
Right, but if you pay attention, then well, I don't know.
You just loop it. The 30 seconds, loop it a couple times.
See, because the way they make it look in the first episode of Stranger Things is they put the Demogorgon down and it looks like they're just board game fighting it. It's like, the Demogorgon! And then, I'm going to fireball, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it looks very much like they're just playing a little board game. It doesn't look like what we know D&D to be.
That's true. That's very true.
So, I say you send them an animated D&D person's video, because that's kind of, I feel like that's a very welcome place to jump in. So what was it? Did Jaden Animations ever do anything with D&D? Maybe not.
I don't think so. There's Puffin Forest.
But yeah, I know Puffin Forest.
Z Bashu, I love his stuff, but he's better for people who know what D&D is.
I feel like Dingo Doodles' stuff is always going to be pretty easy to recommend. She makes it very like palatable. Mm-hmm.
So I actually love all those content creators. I think they're great, but I find it might be difficult for a brand new player, someone who's never played before, because again, you're not getting that exposure. You're just hearing the stories, and while there's animations on the screen, you're not seeing the 4 sweaty guys sitting at a table rolling dice. You're not actually seeing what's really happening.
That's not what this is about. We're not trying to get them to want to play D&D. We're just trying to get them to know what it is, just in general. So if you send them one of these animated creators and they're like, yeah, I did this and my character did this and like I made this decision and I did this, then they'll kind of understand that it's like a choose your own adventure / RPG kind of pretending to be your own character type deal. So I'm not trying to explain to them like, oh, this is D&D and why you should play it. I'm just trying to say, this is what it is.
I kind of like that, the choose your own adventure like analog. I mean, it's sort of similar, and we all did that as a kid, and the idea of like a game where your decisions matter and outcomes change based on what you do. I mean, that's a perfectly acceptable pitch as well, I think.
Maybe that's it. Maybe you just needed it to sound enticing enough They don't even need to know what it is per se. Maybe you just need to make it sound cool enough, and maybe a little bit of peer pressure sprinkled on the top.
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
get them to join on in.
Well, so you don't say things like I'm the dungeon master, for instance.
Oh no, you open up with that.
No, you don't say that. You don't say that.
No, you say I'm the DM. Oh, what's that stand for? DM.
The second you go, I'm the dungeon master, the other person goes, oh, I don't roll like that. I don't do that.
Exactly.
Maybe that's why people started the GM thing. Because the game master seems a little less. I mean, it sounds a little more Saw type horror kind of thing going on. But you know,
I don't know. I like DM. I think DM feels good. Rolls off the tongue.
Dungeon Maker. Is that less bad?
Dungeon Maestro.
That's me, the dungeon maestro.
So how important do we feel, I know we talked about Skyrim, but how important do we feel that the setting is to D&D? Because I often find connecting to people and really explaining how the game works well with actually talking about the setting itself. You know, there's dragons, there's elves, there's dwarves, that kind of thing. I feel like it allows them to get some sort of, what's that, like visual imagery, you know?
I feel like based on baseline D&D, which is what we're trying to get them to understand. Now, there are plenty of tabletop RPGs, and you can explain them by naming a property of media that they would know. Oh, it's like Lord of the Rings. Done.
Yeah.
I have met a lot of people who have never seen Lord of the Rings nowadays.
I've never seen Lord of the Rings, but I know what it is.
Seth, you gotta watch Lord of the Rings, man.
You've never watched Lord of the Rings?
I saw the first 30 minutes of the first movie and then went to sleep.
I think we've had this conversation before.
We
now that
have.
think
I
about it.
tried one time during COVID and near the very beginning to like sit down and watch Lord of the Rings. I got like 30 minutes in while I was working out, and then I switched over and watched The Witcher instead.
Boo. It's
Witcher-
good. I mean, so you can definitely tell it came out when it came out, but
I feel like I need to watch it with someone.
yeah, absolutely. I'll watch Lord of the Rings with you. I didn't watch Lord of the Rings until
I don't roll like that.
until I was in college. So I'm just saying, you're at the prime age to watch it. I tried watching it as a kid, and I fell asleep. My dad really wanted me to get into Lord of the Rings, but I just
I
couldn't.
actually really do want to watch it. It's just I knew I was committing myself to 9 hours of media and went, no. You know, like when you sit down to watch the original Star Wars trilogy and you go, wait, I've already seen this.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't watch them all at once. I definitely wouldn't.
See, that's how I want to do it.
We can do that. It just becomes a commitment, you know?
Yeah, right. And I'm not good at that.
No, Seth's terrible at commitment. That's also on his dating profile.
Terrible with commitment.
Plays D&D. Any takers?
That's how I end it.
Oh, no.
Well, now I just want that to be my my bio for everything.
Oh my gosh. So I do think we've got a good plan here on how to explain it to someone who doesn't really know what's going on. Send them a content creator or tell them it's like Lord of the Rings, but I'm Frodo.
It's like Lord of the Rings, but I'm Frodo. You nailed it. I fully understand what's going on now.
You walk up to the barista and she goes, my brother plays that. What is it? How do you play? It's like Lord of the Rings, but I'm Frodo. Can you imagine that moment?
That's a great idea.
Maybe, I think next week, on Wednesday or Thursday when we record our next episode, maybe we just watch the first episode of Lord of the Rings, but do commentary.
Shut the fuck up. Did you
The
just
first
say
episode?
Yes, the whole episode. The whole movie. As a matter of fact, when I say first episode, I mean the first trilogy. First 3 of them.
Good. Well, do you mean the first, like, that came out, or like the first in order? Because then we'll be watching The Hobbit, which isn't as good.
Well, you're jumping into, our next episode the week after that one, Zach. Don't go too deep into it, because that's the lore.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to get too meta here. Oh my gosh.
So we have the media, right? Maybe a little bit of
I
setting.
don't know if there's any other way.
Is that
I think that's it. I think that's the answer. This may be a short episode, but like I think that's the answer. Is you have to give them a piece of media to go off of, and or show if you've got their phone number, or if you can just quickly show them a YouTube video or a TikTok. You show them an animated clip, like it's kind of like this, and then you show it to them. It's like 3 minutes of their time, and you go, "All right, never see you again," and then you leave, and then you go play D&D in your basement.
But elevator pitch. It's like a choose your own adventure book, but you play it with friends.
So you sit around a table with like a Bible and you circle A and B on things?
No, I mean I'll have my handbook, but you decide the outcomes of things by rolling dice. So like there's a percent chance of success, that sort of thing.
Okay. I mean I mean that's not bad. It's like, okay, well it's like a choose your own adventure but like Skyrim, you know. It's like
Yeah.
It's like you're playing Skyrim but you can do whatever you want.
Again, most people know what Skyrim is, but not all people.
Right. I mean, I always feel like Skyrim's a good baseline, but again, if you're explaining it to your grandparents, they have no clue what Skyrim is.
Unless your grandparents are Skyrim grandma, in which case, maybe you should sit her down and play D&D.
Yeah, so I think that's what I would do. I would show my grandparents like a Dingo Doodles video or like a Puffin Forest video and be like, this is what D&D is. And be like, and just have them tell a story and be like, yeah, we play the game, we tell stories like this, and like we have experiences like this, and it does involve a lot of dice and stuff, blah 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 blah, and that's where the 20-sided dice comes from. Any other questions? And then they hopefully they don't say anything, and you can walk off with your textbook.
Perfect.
Is that where we wrap up, boys? Feel good about that one?
I feel like a cop out. I feel like a cop out right now, but I think it's the best answer. I really do. After years of playing and trying to explain to other people, I think that's the best I could come up with.
Yeah, me as well. Like, this is one of those rare questions that, like, I feel like there is no good answer to. You're gonna try to explain it yourself. I know you motherfucker. You're gonna try to explain it yourself, and it's not gonna go well. And you're gonna be like, "Dang it, I didn't do a good enough job after that." And you should have just looked up a YouTube video. That's all I'm gonna say, because I've done this many, many times, and every time I think I'm prepared to do it, someone goes, "What is that?" And I go, "I don't know." What have you been doing for hundreds of hours? I don't know. Okay, I don't know.
Come home with me and watch me play. Then you'll get it. Then you'll see.
I'll show you. You just gotta come over and spend 4 hours of your time at a table watching me play the game.
We've wasted years of our lives, boys. Years of our lives are gone for no reason.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Table Talk Friday. My name is Seth Pittman, and you can find us and more Table Talk Friday content at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com, where you can write into the show. Let us know your questions, comments, and concerns. Tell us all about how you explain this to your friends, family, and amigos. Other than that, you can also find us on TikTok at Table Talk Friday, where we have been slacking on putting up clips. You can also find us at YouTube at Table Talk Friday, where I have been slacking at putting up clips. And then you can also find us, again, at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. Please send in your inquiries. And with that, I need my grandparents to take us out.
Oh, Seth, where do you want to go? We could go anywhere. Anywhere at all. You said you're a dungeon master. That's Seth, I don't know if you should be doing that. Back in the war, they had a lot of dungeons, and no one wanted to be in them. If you want to be the master of a dungeon, that's your own prerogative. But I just want you to be safe.
Thank you for listening to Table Talk Friday, a D&D podcast. For more fun conversations like this, follow the boys on whatever podcast service you prefer, and come back every Friday for another upload. And if you have your own inquiries, you can find them at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. Thank you.